Hello and welcome again on ClubSpotter. And today I have the chance to talk with Calum, which is Revops specialist, a Revops consultant at RevQore, which is an agency in the UK specialized on the RevOps and HubSpots, definitely. Um,
Indeed.
Calum, I let you introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you very much, Blondine. Nice to speak with you. As you said, I'm a Revops consultant at RevQore. We are a revenue operations consultancy. So we help usually scaling businesses, particularly in the SaaS space, with their marketing, sales, and customer success teams. So making sure that their strategy is aligned, and then importantly, that the technology they're using, particularly their CRM, hence HubSpot, is working in the best possible way to support that team to generate revenue for the business.
Great. And can you tell a bit more about you? What's your career? What have you done? When did you find HubSpot and RevOps finally?
Yes. Yeah, indeed. So I have been at RevQore about 4 years now. So I joined during the pandemic, changing jobs around that time, like I'm sure a lot of people have. But just like most people in the kind of ops space, I don't know anyone who, finished university or when they were growing up was like, "I'm in the operations when I'm older." You end up kind of falling into this role, usually because you like solving puzzles. So I had a bit of a unorthodox career trajectory. I kind of bounced around a lot. I started in a data analysis role at a telecoms company, and I loved the data analysis bit, but I found telecoms really, really boring. Apologies for anyone working in that space. It's exciting now, I'm sure, but when I was selling phone lines and things, it wasn't for me. So I moved into a sales role actually at the same company. Because although I found, what I was saying a bit boring, I used to look over at the sales team and they were always jumping up and shouting and ringing bells and stuff, winning deals. I was like, oh, wow, that seems really fun. I could definitely get into that. So I moved into sales, which I really enjoyed, and I moved to a couple of different companies until I ended up in a SaaS company selling a really cool affiliate marketing tool for them. And it was during that kind of stint at that company when I realized that I actually enjoyed fiddling around with the CRM more than I enjoyed actually picking up the phone and making calls and sending emails. I was constantly getting in trouble with my manager because I hadn't hit my activity quota. I was like, oh yeah, but look what I figured out. You can do this really cool thing with Salesforce to speed up how we're working. And it was really that got me into sales ops and the operational side of things. So I took a career break, went traveling after making one kind of big sale at that company. It was a bit of a roller coaster for my manager. I made my first really big sale. He was really happy, but I said I'm actually leaving. Thanks for the commission. I'm going to use this to take a couple of months off and figure out what I want to do. And when I came back, I started as an office temp in a really cool tech company in London who was selling 3D cameras and 3D software. And I really started there without a defined role. It was basically just like a general problem solver. And for any of your listeners who are working at startups, particularly, they will probably empathize that a lot of the time you might come in with a certain job title or you've been hired to do one thing, but in startup world, sometimes you're just problem solver in this area. And that's kind of where I started out. So it was solving operational problems for the sales team, working with marketing to unblock stuff for them with their tech, and then eventually figuring out that there was an entirely different service solution that we could offer as that company. So we were selling hardware and software. I identified an opportunity really to start selling services through some connections that the CEO had already made, and started to build up my own kind of department there. And with it, had to build up all the operations that go with it. And that was my first kind of introduction to building a revenue operations function from scratch. So where are we getting leads from? How do we process those? How do we sell them? And what does the sales cycle look like? How do we make sure that once customers are on board, they keep coming back and we start generating that recurring revenue? And I stayed there for 4 years, building up this services division and really cutting my teeth in revenue operations. And then during the pandemic, I went to change jobs again. And that's when I met Tanya and Fam, who are the founders of RevQore, where I currently work. They hired me as employee number one, and we built the revenue operations consultancy RevQore from there. And I've not looked back.
Super cool resume. And yeah, you have no one has like build a dream around the CRM since they are a child. So I do think that we all like fall into the CRM world without a real career in it. You decided today to talk about sales velocity. So first of all, what does mean sales velocity to you? Can you explain the bit? And yeah, give us a small definition.
When I emailed you and said that I was going to talk about sales velocity, I'm sure you were incredibly happy. It's not the sexiest sounding, most fun sounding topic in the world. It's basically just a really simple maths formula, but it's essentially how fast your business is generating revenue. And as consultants, we love it because it's one single metric that ties together your entire revenue generating function, marketing, sales, customer success, whatever they're doing, it all feeds into one number. So we can come to a business and say, what's your sales velocity? What was it last month? What is it, forecast to be next month? And a lot of people have real trouble in answering that question. And the metric itself basically boils down to how many opportunities are you generating, multiplied by the value of those opportunities, multiplied again by the percentage that you win them, and then all divided by the length of your sales cycle. And this really helps us dig into, where are there problems with the revenue generation? And it really comes down to, are you creating enough opportunities? Sales and marketing and CS putting opportunities in front of salespeople? Are those opportunities growing in value? Are you selling more stuff? Are you moving up market? Um, what percentage of the time are you winning them? Are you starting to decline in your win rate? And how long does it take you to sell something? And usually by addressing one of those four metrics, we can kind of identify the pain points in any business and then go deeper to try and solve it for them and get them generating revenue at a good pace.
Okay, so super interesting. And um, so I've got one question. It's a super underrated metrics because this is the first time that I heard this metrics in ClubSpotter. So why do you think the sales velocity is not used at all today?
The main thing that I see, and the reason I think that it's something that people don't tend to focus on as much, is because historically, um, teams focus on the metric which they are, KPI'd against or they're benchmarked against. So when we come in, usually to a client, marketing are focused on MQLs. That's what they're targeted on. They need to generate a certain number of MQLs, and that's really what all of their kind of efforts go towards. When we speak to SDRs, they care about booking meetings. That's how they get their commission. They need to book meetings in. So, that's their goal. Salespeople, it's kind of closing deals, and they tend to be a bit more kind of revenue focused. And then CS, a lot of the time, customer success, in my mind, tend to be a bit of a neglected team. They are, traditionally not often thought of as a revenue generating function. A lot of the time, they're confused with kind of customer support. But for most of our companies who are SaaS businesses, they're recurring revenue businesses, we really want to impress that they're crucial. They're very important to your revenue function. And a lot of the time, they're looking at a metric like gross retention or net retention, which is fine. And all of those teams, those are valid metrics, but really all of those should underpin the main one, which is your sales velocity. And in fact, all of those metrics, they're important because they should be leading to more revenue in one way or another. So what we like to do is come in and really Make sure people understand that it's important you're tracking sales velocity. The reason it's important is because it ties all of those teams together. And when you've got all these teams working in harmony and they're all kind of aiming at or focused on one metric, um, the company makes more money, things run more efficiently, and importantly, you have better relationships between the teams. So you get less of this, sales aren't bothering, chasing up our leads. Marketing are sending us through rubbish MQLs. And, the CS team being like, I've literally never been in a meeting with marketing and sales before. Bringing sales velocity and a lot of that kind of goes away.
Okay, so I do think that this is quite a good metrics to like made everyone okay with the deal source. And how can the team like use these metrics to identify or to diagnose the problem they have on the process where they are broken,
Yeah.
especially the GTM process?
Absolutely. So the first thing that we'll do is take the basic, building blocks. So your number of opportunities, your average deal size, your average win rate, and the average time it takes you to close those deals. And we'll want to plug all those numbers in and see what your sales velocity has been like over time. And usually when we do this for the first time, it's all over the place. Sales velocity is really high one month, really low the next month. And I'm pretty sure everyone listening can empathize that it's down to bad data. That's the first thing we fix. Like if your sales velocity is all over the place, it might be that you've had one big deal that came through, right? Or that your business is cyclical, in which case you might see a bit of a kind of a smooth wave. But if it's up and down and all over the place, it's usually terrible data that's in there. We go in and identify, deals that have been open for 2 years and no one's closed them. Deals that didn't, have a value when they closed, and it was only after it was closed one they kind of added something in. So it really helps us highlight the problem with bad data, and get that in front of the team. Once the data is kind of have cleaned up, then we can start to look at the underlying metrics. So to tie together marketing and sales, for instance, we might want to look at the number of opportunities that are created. How many of those were marketing sourced? The first touch, a marketing engagement. How much of that was sales sourced? We, particularly using HubSpot's kind of built-in capabilities, we might want to look at the revenue influence that marketing has had on that number of opportunities generated. So this is a really nice kind of clear way to get marketing and sales in a room together and see how they're both on the same team. Ultimately, everything that they're doing is to generate opportunities together. Um, and so that's one of the kind of first places we'll start. What's your sales velocity look like? Is it up and down and all over the place? Clean your data. And then let's look at the underlying and see where are your opportunities coming from? Is your deal value growing over time? Are certain salespeople closing much more efficiently than others? That sort of thing.
Okay, super clear. How could we put a process in place just to like follow this KPI and these
Mhm.
metrics, not KPIs, but these metrics, just to ensure a certain constancy
Yeah.
in the business revenue?
Absolutely. There's really two things that we do, and it's a phrase that maybe a lot of your listeners have heard. It's carrot and stick, essentially. So for the carrot, we want to incentivize managers who are managing teams and users who are inputting data to keep things clean and tidy, and to input the right data at the right time. And the best way to do that is make the CRM easy to use. HubSpot is such an easy to use, user friendly platform and tool that really it should be mostly carrot. Make the selling experience nice and easy for your users, put the fields that they need to enter right in front of them at the right stage, remind them gently with, kind of process rules and things if they've missed something and to fill it in. And that way you make sure that your data is accurate. You don't have closed dates in the past for your deals. The deal value is populated at the right point in the process. Um, and by doing this, your data is clean. You're less likely to have that kind of fluctuation in sales velocity. The other thing that we do that I think is also kind of more carrot than stick is empower these teams to dig into the data themselves. So we'll usually, put together some reports and dashboards and encourage sales, marketing, and CS to meet together once a week or once every other week, look at sales velocity, and then look at the underlying metrics and see what's changed. So has the average deal value dropped this month compared to last month? Why might that be? Are there less deals coming through? Sorry, why might that be? It could be that there was one large enterprise deal last month and that we haven't got something similar this month. Um, has the number of opportunities decreased, and is that expected? Are the salespeople, has their win rate changed because something seasonal is happening? But getting all the teams together and really using this data to make decisions, that's the best way for them to be aligned and get value from sales velocity. Now, when it comes to the stick, this is the stuff that usually users, don't like, and you want to keep to a minimum. But things like validation rules, if you're trying to move to the next stage and you haven't provided the data you need, then you need to flash up a warning and stop that person doing that. So we like to do that as little as possible, but sometimes you need a bit of stick to go with the carrot to enforce process and make sure people are using the CRM in the right way.
Okay. Um, I have one last question. Um, what is the biggest mistakes that a company could do um, in terms of sales velocity?
So the biggest mistake that we see is that there is no ownership of sales velocity as a metric. So because, as you just said, it's not something that you're familiar with, we'll go and speak to clients and say, who's in charge of monitoring sales velocity and making sure that it's increasing month on month. And usually it's what, we don't check sales velocity. What is that? So usually once we've cleaned up the data, once we've given the reports to a team and made sure that people are using the process in the right way, it's then the responsibility of someone internally, let's say a revenue operations manager, to own that metric, to make sure that the various teams are meeting regularly, that the sales and marketing team are enabled and trained to use the CRM properly, and that they're really utilizing the data that makes sales velocity such a key metric. Avoiding that mistake of not having any ownership is really the best way to make sure that everyone's working to the best of their ability and that the platform's being used in the best way that it can be.
Okay. This was a super, super great subject, I can say. Not the sexiest one, but the one of the more efficient subject that because you give us too many things to like track, too many things to make, and too many things to avoid. So could you please give a recap of 3 bullet points that you want us to retain about sales velocity?
Yes, let's see. Trying to Let's see, putting this into 3 bullet points. First of all, it would be measure it. Make sure you're measuring sales velocity. HubSpot has a built-in feature to do this. For Salesforce, it can be tricky to build, but RevQore, we actually offer an out-of-the-box dashboard product to do this. Make sure it's being measured, number one, and that it's being reviewed at least monthly with the sales, marketing, and CS teams, your revenue teams. Um, Bullet point number two, if you want sales velocity to be effective, your data has to be clean. And to do that, make the CRM easy to use, make it a pleasure for marketing people to set up campaigns in, make it easy for salespeople to sell in. The CRM should not be something that's the bane of their existence and a pain in the backside to use. It should be seamless and easy to use. The third bullet point would be to make sure that you understand that the metrics that individual teams care about your MQLs for marketing, your meetings booked for SDRs, that kind of thing. That the reason they're important is that they should feed into revenue ultimately. They shouldn't be a vanity metric, a number that you're just trying to hit. You should be trying to hit your MQLs because they create more opportunities. Those opportunities close at a better rate. Your sales velocity goes up. So I think making sure that you understand that all of those metrics feed into sales velocity is the way to make sure you're getting the most out of it.
Is the key to have
Indeed.
a metrics, which is very important to follow and to have the best way to do it.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Calum. This is the moment for the anecdotes, and this is the moment where I let you the mic.
Yes. So I had to make sure I was okay to share this anecdote because it was quite embarrassing at the time. But I was setting up a demo environment for RevQore to use, particularly when we're selling HubSpot to new customers to show off all of the kind of cool features and functionality. I created a demo data set. I wanted it to look visually appealing. So I created a bunch of funny kind of first and last names for ChatGPT. I thought that none of them were rude, working at recognizable companies, uploaded this to the demo environment, and then that Excel, we just started using it when we needed to test a sandbox for the client. So we built something for the client. I uploaded a bunch of demo data and got a screenshot from one of them on Slack being like, are these real people? Is there actually a huge ass at PlayStation that I'm supposed to get in touch with? And I was mortified to realize I'd left a load of demo data. There were some pretty rude names in there. Fortunately, we were working with a team who were able to have a bit of fun and laugh about the whole scenario. The data was deleted, and I carefully kind of removed any of the more rude names from the list. But yeah, a word of warning, if you're going to upload demo data, make sure you read every name on the list and there's not, a film a crack in or a huge ass in any of the in any of the names you use.
This is super funny, and how ChatGPT could imagine like you are speaking English. It's definitely speaking English, so how could it doesn't see it happens well,
I
this
know
is
the
definitely super
threshold for
funny.
what it thinks is rude is pretty low, as a word of warning.
Definitely. How could be the learning?
I think my learning experience is we've all gotten used to these AI tools being really integral and really useful, but it's become second nature to just trust them implicitly. Whatever comes out of them, we don't even look for like AI knows best and I'll use it. It's the case of reading through rude names that it might kind of share with you. It's the same for when you're using it to solve problems, particularly related to HubSpot. All the time, we've got team members who, get an answer from ChatGPT on the best way to do something in HubSpot. We go to test it and realize it's invented a button which doesn't exist, or there's some functionality it's told you to use which isn't real. So it's still very, very, possible to come up with hallucinations and crazy things when using AI for your problem solving. Absolutely use it as a tool. Always double check, particularly before you put it in front of a client.
Double check every single words that ChatGPT say to you. I thank you very much, Calum. Do you have the last word that you choose to give to the listeners of ClubSpotter?
Yeah, if you're still listening, thanks for sticking with it today. I know it seemed like we could have been talking about something cooler, AI related, but I feel everyone's doing that. Just hop on LinkedIn and you'll see 1,000 people talking about how you should utilize this latest, greatest feature that's going to 10x your revenue. And it might be a cool feature, but 99% of the time, when I go and look in your CRM, you're not tracking the basics. The data's all over the place. Let's get back to basics and sort the fundamentals first. Then you're in a really great position to go out there and explore all the awesome features and functionality and tools that are on offer. Fundamentals first, fun comes second.
Okay, so basics could be the word.
That would be the word, yes.
Thank you very much for being here today. And I hope to see you very soon for another episode of Club Spotter, or at least in London.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be delighted to join you again, Bloody, and this has been fantastic. And I'll pick a sexier topic next time. We've done the fundamentals one now. I had to do it. Next time I'll pick something wacky and crazy that we can talk about for 20 or so minutes.
Okay, deal. Thank you very much, Calum.